You like my shirt? It says grateful, blessed, Christmas obsessed. I don't have a Thanksgiving one because they didn't make it. So maybe you can talk to the Thanksgiving promoters about that to make shirts.
You make a shirt.
Maybe one day.
Tomorrow.
That's a little soon. But we'll see. There's time.
You got a little bit of time till Thanksgiving Day, even though it's the Thanksgiving season. Anyway, gratitude.
Yes, gratitude.
Please just hold your breath. Every door looks better when you keep it closed. Keep your head down and don't watch your step. No point in even trying now, just let it go. Maybe they will write the same for me. Maybe this was really just a dream. Don't wanna take that risk and try to see a 9 to 5 will bring security, I'm sure, but I can guarantee you that's no way to live. Way to live. Promise that's no way to live. Way to live.
Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Prodigal Peas in a Pod. I'm Brooke Ackerman.
Hi, I'm Denise Acosta.
And we are talking about gratitude today because it is the Thanksgiving season.
Thanksgiving is a day, but we are in a season of gratitude. Yes.
But we could make it a season.
We could make it a season.
I vote for making it a season. All
Sure.
in favor? Say aye.
Let's get some banging hits out and movies. You sent me that list.
I did.
And I have seen some of them. I do like them.
Yeah, not all of those. I was like, some of those were not. I'm not
Questionable on Thanksgiving.
Yes, but on Thanksgiving Day, if all the situations line up and family members who are there agree, I like to watch Miracle on 34th Street. Because it is a Thanksgiving movie. Yes, it's a Thanksgiving movie that then goes into Christmas because it starts on Thanksgiving Day.
Yes.
And it goes into Christmas.
I love that one.
Yeah.
I don't do the original, though. I do the newer one.
The newer one, which was 1995.
Yeah, it was like 50 years ago.
I know. I've definitely seen both, but that's the one that I usually watch too.
Yeah, because it's cute. Oh, I do. I love that one.
Thanksgiving season, if we start having some Thanksgiving movies and Thanksgiving songs like we do for Christmas, then there we go.
Yeah, I'd be down. Let's do some events. Let's have some pretty lights. I'm game for all of that. If we make it a vibe, then let's do it. Sign me up. And we can start in September.
Oh my gosh. But then what about Halloween?
It would still happen and people would still dress up. And don't get me started on that because I have a great idea for what I'm going to do next year now for Halloween.
Okay, that's for another time.
Yes. Gratitude. Oh, man. I know, groundbreaking gratitude for Thanksgiving. If you're anything like me, you're probably rolling your eyes at this. It used to trend on social media where people would start on November 1st. Every single day, they would write their little paragraph about what they were thankful for. And I would roll my eyes. Oh, my gosh. I don't know if I didn't feel like it was genuine or what. Super cliche. I think it felt ingenuine to me. Not a reflection on them, 100% reflection on me. I would roll my eyes about that stuff. I have since then found a lot of value in that and recognized that while I thought it was lame, that their mindset, they were onto something and they were onto something good. And if I had been more open to it and taken a page out of their book, I might have gotten more out of those seasons that I was in than I had. So now I'm on my soapbox this year on gratitude. And if you follow on the community group or the page for Misfit, you'll be seeing a ton of gratitude stuff now. And I'm probably going to start adding things here and there, probably not daily, but fairly often about different things.
Wait, what is this page you speak of? Because somebody might just be joining us and not know what you mean when you say Misfit.
I started Misfit of Creation, digital ministry, at the beginning of the year. And wow, we're coming up on a year on this thing. Anyway, last month launched a community group. So it's a Facebook group for it, and anybody can join. And so the idea is to be in community, and we share things and we be in community, whatever that is. And so there's the same theme that I have every month for Misfit, then trickles down into the group, and then we have conversations based on that. I find that it's very important to practice this attitude of gratitude and have since shifted a lot of my perspective on what that means, what it looks like, and the benefits of it.
Interesting how there's been a shift for you of rolling your eyes to now, let's talk about it.
Yes, let's be grateful, you guys.
So we've mentioned this in other episodes. When we're talking about gratitude, we are not meaning toxic positivity. We are not meaning diminish the difficult things in life or even the mundane, ordinary, everyday things and putting a positive spin. And no, because the situations that you are currently facing, whatever is going on in your life, those things are real. Your emotions are valid. And so this is not, let's slap on a smile and pretend everything's okay. That's not what we mean by gratitude. We're going to get into it further in this conversation, but the difficult things in our lives can coexist with a heart posture of gratitude for the good things that are also going on in our lives. It's not one or the other. It's not polar opposite extremes, but it is definitely not, let's pretend that everything's great, even though inside we're crumbling. So I wanted to put that out there from the very beginning.
We also mentioned in another episode about how we choose to respond to things. Mm-hmm. And gratitude is not something passive. This is something that we're choosing to engage in, choosing to look out of from that lens. So it's not denying what is happening. You're choosing to pay attention to a different aspect of things. If we choose to stay in that negative thing that we are upset about, we're probably going to sink a lot deeper. If we shift to this attitude of gratitude, or we at least attempt it, that's where we're going to be able to see God. That's where we're going to see where he's actually working. And so if we choose to stay in gratitude, we're also choosing to stay connected to God. It's an action. It's not, whatever, we're going to put some positive spin on it, like you were saying.
I feel like sometimes we think, well, how can I feel gratitude if that isn't the internal reality? And if we're waiting for the feeling, then sometimes we can wait for a really, really long time. Because like you said, it's a lens, it's a choice, it's active. I can choose to be thankful for the good while the difficult thing is still happening. It's not, I'm going to wait for this difficult thing to pass and then gratitude will just occur, which is hard. That's hard, but it is a choice. It is a difficult choice sometimes to make, but we can choose the lens that we're looking through. We can choose what we're going to focus on. And if we stay focused on the hard thing, the difficult, negative thing, then that's where we're going to be.
So let's break this down a little bit more into examples and touch on some of those areas that we've already brought up. There are ways to be ineffective. There are things that we should shy away from, because when you're in a time, a moment, a season where things are really hard, and it could be something super serious. You've lost a loved one. Your relationships are falling apart. It is not effective for someone to be like, just be grateful. Shove it, Monica. No. Give me a second. I want to acknowledge that too. We're not sitting here trying to do that. We're not glossing over things. I want us to consider a different perspective of gratitude other than it being cliche for the season, because it's not cliche if it's genuine. And if we're being asked to do that, if God is pointing that out in the Bible, you guys, it's probably for good reason. It's not because he likes to hear us saying nice things about him. There is something internally that's going to happen. Something else we talked about in another episode, the stuff that we speak, whether it's self-talk or whatever we say out loud, at some point it internalizes. If we're finding things, even if it's the chair didn't break when I sat in, you feel like you're grasping for straws, but the little things you start seeing more of them, you start noticing different things, you see God in the details, and there's some comfort that'll pull you out of that darkness. And I mentioned the darkness because the holidays can be hard for some people.
Oh, absolutely.
And we'll have a whole talk about that in a different episode, you guys. But But I wanted to start introducing that because things are happening. The lights are coming out. The celebrations are coming out. You have people like me in your life that are blasting Christmas, shoving it in your face every chance they can get. And sorry, not sorry, but I see you and I stand with you. And this episode is for you guys.
So if you happen to be on the receiving end of somebody's lack of gratitude, which to some extent, we can be pretty empathetic about that, but then sometimes it starts to feel like, wow, you're still in this place of seeing things negatively. You're still in your puddle that you don't want to climb out of. Chances are, not always, but chances are that person is not resisting gratitude because they're stubborn. I would kindly ask them some questions because there's a pretty good chance that they are hurting, that there's some source of pain going on. And while we said both of those things can exist, you can have gratitude and be in a difficult situation. Sometimes it's really hard to climb out of the difficult situation enough to get your head above water and be able to authentically feel and express gratitude. And I know from personal experience when I've been in places like that, when somebody came along and said, hey, I was thinking about you the other day, or do you want to go meet up for lunch, or some connection point. We didn't even have to necessarily talk about the difficult thing, but they were the positive thing in that moment or in that day. It shifts things. And try not to slip into judgment for why is this person seeming like they're always in a bad mood, or why are they always focused on negative things. More often than not, there is a pain point there. And if you can try to offer some empathy, some encouragement, some form of connection, it can start to shift things for that person, even if it's just for that day. And then the next day they go back to being focused on the difficult or negative thing. That's on them, but try to put on a different lens when you are on the receiving end of someone's lack of gratitude.
Because it can feel shallow if you're doing it too soon. Mm-hmm. Give people their space and time. Gratitude is not pretending. And I used to kind of think that, though. Maybe that's why I used to roll my eyes so much at people doing their days of gratitude, because I'm like, oh, they're lying to themselves, because nobody's ever that happy and grateful for 30 consecutive days. We're all going to complain about something at some point. And so I would equate it to pretending. And I didn't want to sugarcoat something that I'd be going through and being like, oh, but thankfully we have our health. That's the common one. But we have our health, or we breath in our lungs. Yeah.
And that's true. It is true, but not when you're delivering it, you're patting someone on the head, but at least you have your health. Don't start with at least.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And also on the last one I said, at least you have breath in your lungs. If you're dealing with someone who is really struggling with depression and some really dark thoughts, and you want to say, be grateful that you woke up today, that's not helpful. I don't know if you know that. There's a lot of times that people would tell me that, and you know what? It wasn't something I was grateful for. I would have been grateful if I wasn't awake that morning. So be mindful of those things. Let's not cram these things down their throat, things that you should be thankful for, because it should be genuine anyway. Yeah. It's not, here's a box with 10 different things, grab one and then go ahead and say one, and we can start from there. It's got to come from you. If it's not coming from you, it's not taking root, it's not anchoring, it's not genuine. Gratitude is more of a perspective. And that's taken me some time to learn and to experience. It didn't finally come together until probably later this year, honestly. I did get to experience gratitude and grieving coexisting at the same time. And we'll get into that in a little bit too. But why does gratitude feel hard sometimes for us? Obviously, things are happening in life that are difficult, and we can't help but think anything outside of that. Our feelings are not our enemies. They are our friends. They can be very useful in helping us identify what's really going on. Why is it hard to be grateful in some of these seasons? For example, how can I be grateful when I'm grieving what I lost? Fair. There's a lot of pain there. Or I can't be grateful until everything's in order. That's going to be an ongoing thing for the rest of your life. Then there's why thank God for crumbs when others feast. There's, I've thanked God before and it still didn't get better. So what is behind all of those? So we can see some pain, we can see perfectionism, we can see comparison, and hope you remember that episode. We did a whole one on that. And then spiritual fatigue. But if we can figure out where this is coming from, we'll have a better chance of addressing it, dealing with it. We want to deal with things, guys. We want to feel our feelings. We don't want to box them up and put them away and move on, because that's not helping anybody. Take some time and spend trying to figure out, talk to God, what's really happening here? Why am I feeling this way?
Yeah,
why is it so hard to get out?
Yeah, I want to say get curious about what's going on in you. So if there is pain, have you bottled it up, or are you expressing it in healthy ways? Because if you bottle it up, that's pretty much impossible for gratitude to exist there. I'm not saying it is absolutely impossible, but it's going to make things a whole lot harder for you. And so if there's a pain point, get curious, turn toward you, ask yourself, what's going on here? Have I found healthy ways to express it? Invite God into that conversation. If it's on the lines of perfectionism, oh my goodness, that's a very long topic by itself, because it's impossible to be perfect. God has never asked us to be perfect. And so that's a whole shift in your mindset, in your perspective. And so if you're waiting for things to be perfect before you feel thankful, you are quite literally going to wait forever, because nothing is going to be perfect this side of eternity. And so we need to realize and be able to release the burden of perfectionism, because it's nothing God has ever asked us to be. And again, things can be a complete mess, and we can still have authentic expressions of gratitude. And it's not, well, just that's so simple. Be okay with the mess and be thankful. No, that's a toxic level of trying to slap a gratitude sticker on a really difficult thing. No, we got to find a balance with that. If we're avoiding gratitude because we might not label it this way, but it might be self-protection. We might feel like, well, if I get too hopeful about this, if I'm too thankful for this, then the other shoe's going to drop, and then that's going to be disappointing. And if I keep gratitude at arm's length, then disappointment won't come. And oh my goodness, we are setting ourselves up, probably with the help of the enemy, for disappointment, because disappointing things are going to happen, and we can be grateful for the things that aren't disappointing in the middle of all of that. And that's what I mean by get curious about what is going on internally for yourself, because there are underlying things that are trying to tell us that if we don't engage with gratitude, it will work out better for us. But that's a lie, because engaging with gratitude in the midst of difficulty makes the difficult thing a little bit easier to handle.
And practicing gratitude, whether it's internally feeling it, but even saying it out loud, voicing it out loud. There's that where I've seen before, we don't want to say too much out loud what you're grateful for, because you're inviting the thing to come, that it's going to be awful, and then you're going to look silly because you had all these great things and now your life's in shambles. That's not true. When you start sharing things that you're grateful for, it validates that truth more in you. It becomes a core belief. We're validating it. Our bodies heard it. We've said it out loud. So it's good to practice it, because like you said, we're going to be disappointed. There are things that are going to happen. That's just the experience of being here and being alive. And if we're choosing not to be grateful, we're probably not going to notice God. It's that same thing that we said before, where it's, if you decide you've had a bad day and it's because one thing went wrong, you're going to notice all the bad things that are happening the rest of that day. You're not going to notice the good things. And if that happens, you can always reframe it. And perspective is everything. And if you're seeking, you will find. If you want to start seeing things that you're grateful for, then you're going to start noticing a lot more things. You're going to start paying attention to those things more. And your body is then going to be experiencing those emotions more than the other.
When you had used the example before too of I thank God before and it didn't get better, man, that one, it's not an intentional thing that we do, but we can turn this into a very transactional exchange with God. If I thank you for enough things, then you'll give me X amount of things. He will give us really good things, but it's not because we've earned it. It's not because you've said thank you or expressed gratitude 10 times and then he'll give you 10 more good things. That's turning God into an ATM or a vending machine, and that's not who he is. He is a good father and he does provide, but it's always relationship. And so if you think of anybody else in your life, if you treated that person or that relationship that way, that if I do, then I will get, that's not authentic relationship. That's not real connection. That's not love. And I don't mean necessarily romantic. I mean genuine care and concern for another. And so we've got to be careful that we're not trying to turn God into a vending machine, that if I hit all the right buttons, then I will get the things that I want, because then we're not engaging in relationship with him. We're just hoping for him to give us all the things that we want because we've decided that we've figured out how we can earn it. And that's not how it goes. And it's a distortion of who he is. It's not healthy for us to have that view. So there's all kinds of things in there that when we turn our relationship with God into transaction, it goes wonky all kinds of ways. So transactional relationship, that's not where we want to go. There are other ways of us withholding gratitude or not expressing it. And you don't necessarily wake up one morning and go, I refuse to be grateful. Sometimes we don't realize it, but sometimes the tough things in our lives start to skew our perspective before we're even aware of it. And then that perspective is how we see ourselves, other people, circumstances, God. And so what can happen, though, whether we intend it to or not, the negative can still have an effect on us. And if we stop expressing gratitude or are unaware of gratitude, it can start to become bitterness. So the lens that we see things through is it's never enough. It's always going to go poorly. I'm not even going to bother because it's not going to turn out well. It's as if we've put on a pair of glasses and bitterness is the lens, and that is all we are able to see, which is why we were saying before that even finding something small to be grateful for can start to shift things. But that's one of the negative things that can definitely come out of not engaging with gratitude. Entitlement can also start to creep in because it's that transactional, it's conditional. If I get, then I'll be thankful for. If I'm grateful enough, then this good thing should come to me. And again, it's not how it works. There is a way things work in God's creation, and us trying to determine ways for us to earn things never goes well for us. It never does. There are lots of stories in that favorite book of Denise's. I mean, I like it too, but she definitely likes to promote this favorite book of hers. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called The Bible.
You guys should read it. Check it on the library.
But there are lots of examples in that book, let alone I'm sure you can start thinking of examples in your own life where you didn't intend to slip into entitlement, but there we go. Cynicism can also crop up where we start to interpret the good things as coincidence. And I'm just going to say it. There is no such thing as coincidence ever in any situation. There is no such thing as coincidence. And then we have to go the other way. It's not fate either.
It's not.
It's not. And that could be a whole episode in and of itself. I'm not going to go too far down that road. We could sit here for a long time and talk about, well, that God must have wanted this to happen. Okay. I gotta rein it back in. I'll talk for a long time on that.
And then I'll keep going too. I'm relying on you to keep us focused.
That's dangerous. Another unhealthy thing that can come out of lack of gratitude is control, that we do see some good thing. And so then we start to grip onto it and think if we can replicate this, if we can get more of this. And so we start to then turn the gracious gifts from God or his provision, then we start to try to control it and manufacture it and turn it into a process. And that's never what it was intended to be. It's not going to go well for us. A lack of gratitude can also result in us feeling very numb. We sort of exist in this middle ground where we're just numb to everything. We don't feel anything. And I know for a lot of people who have not experienced emotions very positively or in a very healthy way, numb can feel healthy. It can feel like this is better than feeling bad, so numb is where I want to stay. God gave us emotions, and he gave us a heart with great capacity to feel. And so if we are noticing a numbness in our emotional lives, it's a counterfeit. It's not what God has for us. Again, be curious. Take a look at the internal reality of what's going on, what are the things that have led us to a lack of gratitude and have resulted in these different things. And when we are able to notice some of the things that have caused us to slip into a lack of gratitude, when we get a little glimpse of gratitude, it's going to feel like coming up out of water and taking a really deep breath for the first time in a long time. And when that happens, be grateful for that. And and go in that direction rather than, but what if that was one time, what if this starts to go south again? No, just stay on the path of, I got this really deep breath, actual oxygen in your system. Then get curious about that and make that your focus. Make God the focus, make the healthy and good things in your life the focus, and it will gradually start to shift. But chances are, if you've been in a tough place for a long time, the shift to gratitude, it's going to take a little bit, and that's okay.
We have learned to take things for granted. There's a lot of things that happen in our lives on a day-to-day basis that are actually pretty miraculous, are actually gifts from God, but we're so used to it that we don't even think about it and we expect it. We expect it to always be there. So initially when I would hear things like, oh, I'm glad that the sun is out, and I'd roll my eyes, the sun's out every morning. If we go into the science behind that, and I can't because I'm not a scientist, but that's a miracle in and of itself that it keeps happening every day. But that specific thing about the outdoors is something that is very important to me now. So when I was doing my last residency at the Loudoun County Adult Detention Center, you don't go outside. You don't get daily walks. You don't get fresh air. That's not a thing. And I remember that being the one thing I missed the most. And I remember eventually I was let out to do work release. And so I was able to go to my job. And I would sit out on my lunch break. I would sit outside. And I remember talking to God and being like, I will never take this for granted again. And I had, because you're so used to it. You expect these things to happen, that you're going to always experience those things. And so, no, that's like a huge thing for me. Sometimes I'll be outside, especially in the fall right now, because it's so pretty with the leaves, and I'm having the best time. I'm breathing it in. I'm sitting outside. I'm so grateful for that. But recognize that we do have quite a bit to be grateful for. We start getting used to things and we just expect them to happen, but they're gifts to us. They're good gifts and we get to enjoy them. We mentioned earlier about gratitude and grief coexisting. And that may sound insane to some. And I think it probably would have felt that way if I had stopped to think about it before. But I can think of 2 moments in my life this year where I have experienced it. And that experience is wild. Earlier this year, one of my great uncles passed. And we had to drive up to New York. We had been up there the week prior, and then we drove up for the funeral the week after. He was in the hospital, and it was a tough moment. We're here spending it with family, and then it ends up happening, and I have to drive Mom to New York to be with the family so she can help with them, and then I'm back home working and doing what I need to do and taking care of my dog. And for most of my life, had not taken time out to grieve, I would move on. I would be really sad, but things needed to get done, and I was responsible for a lot of different things, and so I would jump into what I needed to do to keep moving. Well, having the place to myself with my dog for about a week before I had to drive up for the funeral gave me time to actually sit and grieve with God, and emphasis on with God, you guys. The fact that I did not feel alone. And it was really hard. This is someone who had been in my life my whole life and was very present. So it was a tough loss. But I'm getting this time with God and I'm grieving. And then I end up driving up to New York to be with the family. And I've since replenished my cup there. And it's a sad time. Sure, we're at the funeral. But also, I was so grateful to be with my family, to be in a healthy space with them, to help as we're figuring out what we're doing. We're setting up for when they come to the house, to have both coexisting, because I was still very sad about my uncle. I said something at the funeral for it, and I cried then too, but you have your family there. You get to spend that time with them. You get to talk to them. So yeah, they were coexisting. We can thank God for his presence, even when we're not exactly grateful for the situation that we're in. 2 months ago now, breaking news, guys, I got my license taken away from me. So it's going to be 2 years of no license. And it all goes back to some decisions I made 13 years ago. That's a story for another day. But it is a life-changing situation that I'm trying to figure out now. How am I getting places? And I take care of Mom. And how are we going to get to where she needs to go? it sucks. The situation sucks, you guys. It was really, really hard initially. I was basically inconsolable the first 3 days. We're about 2 months out into it. And while that is awful, I won't sugarcoat that. There's so much good too that had come from it. There was a very supportive community. People were wanting to jump in and help as soon as they heard. And it took me a little bit to get out of my head about some things, but different areas that people will show up, and I can spend each day and wake up reminding myself that I don't have a license and I can't go anywhere today. I can't do all these things, or I can take the day as God is having me do it. And I feel like there's an underlying grieving. Some days are harder than others, for sure. I don't want to paint this picture that I'm sunshine and rainbows every day. Although I do have some days that I'm super sunshine and rainbows, but they are coexisting. It's the little things. For example, this past Sunday, one of my girlfriends came and she was running to me. She said she had gone to the store and she found this bag. The design had soups all over. I love soups, guys. I love soup season. And she's like, and I thought of you and I knew that you needed to have it, so I got it for you. Oh my gosh, you feel so seen. Yeah. Like, that's the thing. It's not that somebody gave me a gift. Like, you feel so seen. Then later that day, I went out to lunch. And as we're getting sat to the table, I ended up excusing myself to use the restroom. I came back and there is a water with lemon waiting for me. And I always order water with lemon when I'm out somewhere. And so the fact that this person remembered that about me and went ahead and ordered it was so great. So I'm feeling so loved. There's so much to be grateful for, and it's not a fight. It's not one or the other. And I think that sometimes we might feel like it needs to be, especially when somebody passes. You're almost afraid to be happy. You feel guilty about it, or to say that you're grateful for something. We'll get on ourselves about that, but no, you can still be both. It doesn't invalidate the other. It doesn't cancel out the other. Allow yourself to feel that. We are complex creatures that were created this way. We are capable of feeling both at the same time, you guys. As far as grieving and being grateful, if we look at the Psalms in the Bible, you'll notice that they're often hand in hand. Yep. And at first I used to think that was kind of odd. And now I see why it's good. It's a thing that can coexist, and it's better to embrace something like that than not. Gratitude and grief can coexist.
We were talking about the negative ways that a lack of gratitude can affect us, and now we're going to go into some of the more positive things about expressing gratitude. Have you ever noticed that when you buy a specific kind of car, or if it's a car that you really, really like, you all of a sudden start seeing it more often when you're driving? Mm-hmm. It's our perception, because we are focused on this particular kind of car. So it is what we start to see. The same thing can happen with gratitude. If you can shift out of some of the more difficult negative things and find one or two things to be grateful for, it becomes the best snowball effect ever. It becomes something that you start seeing in other places. And that was one of the reasons why we were saying it's not something that we should do, but it's something that if we choose to start looking for places where we can express gratitude, the benefits to us mentally, emotionally, it can actually start to affect your physical body. There is so much good in looking for ways to be authentically grateful, and start trying it. Find one or two things to be grateful for, and you'll start to see, like I said, this most amazing snowball effect.
It sounds like maybe you're saying seek and you will find, because that's what I'm hearing. And isn't it interesting that God would share that truth with us long before science ever figured that out? He was onto something. Good things.
Another thing about that with God and neuroscience, brain science, our minds believe what we tell it. And I know this from personal experience, because I had my own tough thing that sent me down a road of lack of gratitude, which then resulted in bitterness and cynicism. And it wasn't numb. I was real angry. So I was definitely feeling some emotions, but it was all in the vein of anger. But I got stuck in, this is terrible. This is never going to get any better. It's never going to change. And it wasn't just that it became thought, it became beliefs. And so my mind believed me when I told it this is never going to change. This is never going to get any better. This is just where we are. And that's exactly the perspective that I had until I was able to, and it took a long time. That's a whole other story. When I started to be able to make some shifts, then my mind started to believe me when I said different things. And when I was able to express gratitude, our minds absorb what we tell it. That forms our thoughts form beliefs, our beliefs then become our actions. And so there is so much good in this, which is why we're saying find something that you can authentically express gratitude for.
The key word there is authentic.
Because otherwise we're just saying positive things. It's positive self-talk that isn't actually rooted anywhere. And that's the roll your eyes. It sounds fake because it is fake.
I feel like always the goal in a lot of our episodes is shifting your perspective, which there's a lot of value to it, you guys, because the way we think is the way we live. So we're going to release the frog again about reframing things. So let's choose to look at it differently. Let's give it a shot. Try it and see how it works out. And do it more than once, you guys. Give it some real effort. Yeah. For example, instead of what's missing, start paying attention to, okay, what's still here? What's still around? Instead of what did I lose? You can start thinking, what did I learn? There's an opportunity in everything, especially in challenges and hard moments. There's an opportunity to learn, to experience gratitude, to practice patience, whatever it is, there is an opportunity in it. Find it and learn it and grow. Instead of why me, we can ask, where is God meeting me in this? That's a good one.
It is a good one.
Because that's why me encompasses so much. So it's 2 words, but it's, man, that can get to a lot of areas that are worth exploring. Spend that time with God. Where is God meeting me in this? Where is he right now?
And be sure to feel your feelings in this whole process. Because the what did I lose and shift it to what did I learn? That doesn't mean diminish the loss. That doesn't mean diminish the feelings that you had in the process. It's feel your feelings and feel gratitude. Experience the loss, grieve it, and then start making shifts. It's not black or white. It's not 180 degrees different. It's the feelings are valid, and bring them into this process as well.
So how do we cultivate gratitude when we're not feeling it? Cultivating is a practice, you guys. It's something that we continuously work at. A process, not a one-time thing. People don't wake up courageous. They cultivate that. They've spent time. They've had moments to practice that, to strengthen whatever muscle that is there. Gratitude is the same thing. You spend time practicing that. And the more you practice it, the better understanding you have and the stronger you get in that area. How do we cultivate it? There's micro gratitude. There's past gratitude. There is a reframe routine gratitude, which I'm excited to talk about. There's gratitude towards others. And then, of course, we can do the prayers too. So micro gratitude is thinking about those small things. Like I had mentioned before about the water with the lemon. It's just water with lemon. No, it was like the warmest hug. The soup bag, like little things like that. Or whether it's something that's specific to me and it meant a lot to me because I felt seen, or whatever. Again, the sun coming out. I love sunsets or sunrises. Oh my gosh, like those are my jam. And so you find little things like that. Or, hey, these jeans don't feel tight today.
Ah, absolutely something to be grateful for.
Again, amen. I'm starting to feel a little loose. Thanks, God. So yeah, finding those little things, a text from a friend, coffee. And while we're looking for these things to be grateful about, maybe also consider, do we know someone who is having a hard time with gratitude that maybe we could help with some of those micro moments for them? The past gratitude recall. So this is the whole remembering where God has come through for us in the past. It's easy to be caught up in our moments where things are very hard and we don't know how we're going to come out of this and how is God going to provide. But if we look back at the rest of our lives, there's a lot of moments that he's shown up. I saw this graphic. This girl is walking across this board, and it's a board of squares, like a line, and each square is a month for the year. And we have no idea how we got to where we are. So she's hovering over October, November. and she has no idea how she's made it that far. And every step of that way, you're not sure how you're going to get there, but you did get there. God got you there. And we can be grateful for all of that. Everything that we were stressing out about, we got through it. And now we have a little bit left. And we've seen that God has carried us through at least 10 months up to 12 so far. It's safe to assume he's going to do the same for months 11 and 12. So going back and remembering those things and even sharing stories with each other about how that's happened, because sometimes we need those reminders. Sometimes it helps.
Yeah. And this is where, you'll know I'm a big fan of journaling. This is where keeping a journal is really helpful, because you can actually go back and find the places where God has already shown up, and you can reread them and remind yourself. And it always makes me think of the stories in the Bible where there was a moment where God showed up and the people would build a small altar. They would stack stones. This is the place where God did whatever amazing thing he did. And it was a reminder for them, and it was a sign for anybody else who came along after them that God showed up here and did something for his people. And that's how I treat my journal, because I forget the things that God has already done. And I go back into my journals often and reread, and it's such good reminders of he has been there all along, and he is going to continue to see it through. And another plug for reading the Bible and journaling, because we're big fans of both of those things.
Mm-hmm. It can be nice artwork in that too. Speaking on journaling, I got this awesome message last week. I every month host a prayer call. So if you follow on the socials, you'll see it's once a month and it's online. And I had someone join on the last one, and they ended up sending me a message recently, reconnecting with me and sharing their story. And it was very lovely. It made me stop in my tracks for the way I think life is going. And a lot of different thoughts are happening. When I get this message, and this is awesome, this is all God. And I told some friends about it. And so one in particular was like, you should print that out and you can put it in your Bible or a book, and then you can always have it to look back on. And I was like, oh my gosh, what a great idea. As if it was rocket science. Right? It's only the one thing that we keep talking about. Because, yeah, you will have it to remember. And so this is an example of being intentional about this. And it would help to go back sometimes in those moments when you are feeling ungrateful and it's really hard, to go back and read it and see all those areas that were truly meaningful, that we are grateful for. Maybe I will show you guys what I end up creating.
Yeah, a little show and tell episode.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
So reframing the routine gratitude. You guys remember how I had said I didn't used to like everybody sharing what they were grateful for each day. In the community group that I had talked about, I had a recent post about why gratitude is important now, and recognizing that it's probably cliche sounding for this month, but there's a lot of value in it. And so I was encouraging those in the group to start sharing stuff, as silly as it may seem, whether it's big or small, share whatever, and let's get into the rhythm of that. So there was a few people that had commented some really awesome things. And one of my friends on there said she had actually been practicing making a list. So she had already had a list. She ended up writing it in one of the comments. And she listed off 10 or 12, 15 different things that she was grateful for. And I'm like, that's great. She's putting this into practice. She's trying to reframe where she's at right now and focus on gratitude. Got to thinking about enhancing that experience is adding on to what each blessing is, why it matters to us. Why did that particular blessing that we thought about, what is it about it that stood out to us that really spoke to our heart? An example would be, I'm grateful for my job because it reminds me that I'm capable. And I think if we start naming what we're feeling, which we've talked about before, these are all things that are going to help us get to that space where God really wants us to be, which is healthy and not collecting lies of the enemy.
The other day I was sitting down for my usual morning conversation with God, and I was feeling a little disconnected, and I wasn't really quite sure what was going on there. And so I started thanking him for all of the different things recently that he and I had either talked about or glimpses of him and the kingdom. And as soon as I got maybe 2-3 things into saying thank you for them. And all of a sudden I felt the kind of connection that I usually feel. And so even that's also another reframing, because God and I talk pretty much every day, and that can feel routine, and it can start to feel like, yeah, this is what we do, but why it matters really made a difference for me. And this was 2 days ago that this was happening. So this was a very recent one, but it can strengthen the connection between us and God. Some of you might have also experienced that feeling before of not feeling connected to God, and you've tried the thank him for things, and that really hasn't seemed to work. Here's another really great thing to try. I was at a retreat earlier this year. John and Stacy Eldridge, we've talked about them before. Their Wild at Heart ministry and Captivating. It was an amazing retreat, and I really hope they do it again. Please do it again. Not that you were listening to this, but one of the things that John recommended was to think of a person, a thing, an experience, something that you love. And that feeling that you have of loving that person, that thing, that experience, he's like, it can be your golden retriever, whatever. It doesn't matter. Something that you love. And as you feel that feeling, turn toward it, because that's where Jesus is. Because Jesus is love. And so if it feels like I've tried the gratitude route and I still don't feel connected, try the think of something, someone that you love, and go deeper into that. And then you'll feel connected to Jesus. And that's also part of what I was doing that morning. And it worked perfectly.
That's very helpful. Sometimes you don't feel connected and you're trying all these different things that you're used to. And I think that's a great one. Gratitude towards others. We say thank you. Just keep saying thank you. Someone hands you a fork on the table. Thank you. Little things, the bag, my soup bag, which I love. Thank you. Those simple words, start saying them more often. They'll resonate. They'll take root.
Easy ways to express gratitude, which then starts that snowball going in the best way possible. Easy entry point to do those.
And then the prayer, the example prayer, thank you, God, that you are near, even here. Oh, that rhymes. I didn't intend for that to rhyme. That's so cute. Thanks, God.
Thanks, God. Gratitude.
Yeah, because we were saying it's not always sunshine and rainbows. And I think that's also going back to one of the examples I gave about grieving and gratitude coexisting, is that I could grieve, I could be sad, I could have my feelings, and I could do that with God. He was there with me and he's comforting me. We are grateful that God is near, no matter what we're experiencing, even here. I had mentioned earlier about gratitude not being passive. It's a practice that we're putting into place. If the enemy is always throwing things at us, he's trying to discourage us, to get us off this path that God has us on, to steer us away from our calling, whatever it is. And he's going to put us in these situations. I definitely was feeling super attacked with all the latest things going on. And if I can do one thing, it's that I don't want the enemy to win. And I can acknowledge that and try to work from that angle. It's a direct rebellion to his plan. If the enemy is trying to attack us and steer us off, he's thriving on that dissatisfaction. The more that we start feeling disappointed in things and the way they're turning out, it starts piling up and we get more and more in that. Man, he is so excited about that. Yeah, keep feeling bad. Keep feeling you're alone and nothing's working and you can't do anything. Choosing to not practice gratitude, for example, is going to give him the win. We don't want to do that, you guys. We can't let them win. So let's go ahead and incorporate some of these things we've been talking about. And that's going to be your weapon against this. Expressing gratitude, experiencing it, feeling it, it disrupts the despair and it shines that light in with that truth that God is good. Even when things are messy, even when things are hard, that doesn't change who God is. It doesn't change his character. It doesn't change his plan. It doesn't change anything. It's a constant that we can rely on, that we can depend on.
It starts to also shift us from believing we're a victim and helping us to see truly who God says we are. Now, I'm not saying that you, depending on the situations in your life, you can be a victim of things that have happened to you. Yes. But if we start to embrace victim as our identity, then like Denise said, the enemy is often running with that. And yes, we have been victims of mistreatment, but that's not our identity. It starts to shift us from that being our identity to beloved, to child of God, to whatever else it is that he says is true about you. And so expressing gratitude it's almost like it moves us from one place to another. It moves us out of the negative and the lies that we've been believing, and it moves us into the truth. And so that right there feels like that's a good reason to try expressing gratitude.
It teaches us contentment in these really hard situations. I launched this digital ministry at the beginning of the year. God called me away from my cupcake business, and we're going to be in ministry full time. And I still do my ministry things. I'm actually getting ready to take over jail ministry, which we've talked about next year. I have a trip coming up now for Peru again. We're about to go on missions at the beginning of next year. And so here I am. I've launched this digital ministry at the beginning of the year, which comes with zero income. And I love what I do. I love every time that I get to engage in my actual work that I'm doing. Misfit of Creation, with the activities that we're doing, Adopted the Highway this year, the prayer calls. Now there's a Facebook group. I had apparel that was out over the summer. I'm getting ready to do apparel at the end of this year, jail ministry, and all these wonderful things that are happening. And wow, Denise's life is so great. And it's like, yeah, guys, there's no income. And it costs money to exist. It's hard. It's been hard. And God has shown up in so many different ways this whole year. And this is why gratitude is such a huge thing for me this year. I've really learned it. I've really cultivated it, really put it into practice, and experienced it from different facets, because that graphic I was explaining earlier, where it's this whole line and the girl is on November and it's like, how do we get here? And it's like, yeah, I'm spending this whole month. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to have enough for these things. There's no way I'm going to make it to the end, or I'm going to make ends meet. And God, I need all these things to happen. And he wants us to ask for daily bread, not monthly bread. And here I am. I don't know how this is going to work. I don't know how this is going to work. Well, it's November, you guys. It's November. I'm here and I have not missed a meal. There's a lot of wonderful things that have happened. I've learned so many things. I've grown closer with God. My understanding is so much more. And this one aspect, which is not a small aspect, guys, this is something that it's really hard that I'm going through. There's still areas that you can be grateful for and practice it, because if I'm stuck on this one thing right now, I'm going to miss what God is actually trying to do. God knows those needs. It's not like he doesn't know that I don't have a regular stream of income. He's got a plan for it, but there are things that he has to do in me until then. And so since being able to practice gratitude and see those areas where he's showing up, they're like flowers for me. It's like receiving flowers. And so I would encourage you guys to try it, because it doesn't mean that your life is sunshine and rainbows and that things are all going well. Life can be hard, and we know that it can be, but there's
you can still be grateful.
Yeah.
Again, gratitude is not toxic positivity. It's not diminishing how you're feeling. It's not pretending difficult things don't exist. It's living with all of the difficulty and the good. Not necessarily balanced, because it often feels not balanced, but it's learning to see good even when things are very, very difficult. It's choosing to express gratitude even though things aren't going the way that we want them to. It's tuning in to what God says is true. It's telling the enemy to shut up, and we're not buying into his lies. There's so much wrapped up into it. It's not just, well, I'm thankful I woke up today. Mm-hmm. If that is something you're thankful for, great, express that. It's got to come from an authentic place. It has to be genuine. And honestly, there were times that I didn't feel very grateful for much of anything. And I would say to God, I want to be grateful. And I'm not. And I knew that he was okay with that. But that I want this started to shift things. It took a while. It was a slow process, but it got the ball rolling. And then once the ball got rolling, it was easier to see the things that I could truly express gratitude for. Get curious about what's going on with you. Get curious about what God is actually saying is true. Tell the enemy to shut up, because he doesn't get to be a part of your day. And look for the places where you can genuinely and authentically express gratitude. It will make a big difference. It will start to shift things. And when it starts to feel impossible, that's when you dig in and let God show up for you. Let him prove to you that he is trustworthy and that he does provide and that there are things to be grateful for.
It's not instant, you guys.
No, very rarely. It's usually processed, which is good and kind and healthy, even though we think we want right now. We hope, as always, that something in our conversation was helpful for you. We're talking to ourselves, too, when we're doing this. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Prodigal Peas in a Pod. I'm Brooke. She's Denise, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Prodigal Peas in a Pod. Not sure how you found us today, but be sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you don't miss out on any other episodes. And you can find us on most podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Amazon Music.
If anything we said today resonated or got you thinking deeper, share it with a friend, leave a comment, or shoot us an email over at prodigalpeas@gmail.com. If you didn't know, this podcast is a merge of both of our brands. I am Misfit of Creation, a soul food ministry. You can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, and on YouTube. I also have an Etsy shop where you can find downloadable tools that will help you grow in your walk with God. And that is misfitofcreation.etsy.com. And if you're looking to be a monthly supporter, you can also find me on Patreon.
My mental and emotional health coaching practice is Blueprint Heart and Mind Coaching, and you can find me at blueprintheartandmind.com, where I have a blog, and you can also make an appointment with me. And you can find me on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. We'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.
I get it now, I need to be myself because a copycat can only do so well. In love with everything that makes me who I am. Don't need a backup plan, I hope they understand that I'm doing better today. I got me a mission, I got some fruition, you down to stay out the way. Can't seek validation from people who hating, I got my mentality straight. Shout out to God, I've been keeping the first, he been working and paving the way. And now I can guarantee you that's the way to live. Way to live, promise that's the way to live, way to live, promise that's the way to live.
Autobots, roll out.